1984, written by George Orwell in the year 1949. When I was reading this book, at that time people seeing this book in my hand and they started correlating this book to the 1984 tragedy, that genocide or massacre that took place in Delhi. But I tell you that it has nothing to do with that tragedy. In fact, it has nothing to do with the year 1984. This work was published in the year 1949. So it was written way back just after the World War II at that time. And at that time, George Orwell was thinking about the future society, how the things will be in future. He was predicting some tyrant rule, if there would be in the world, how it would govern. So these sort of things are predicted in this work. So it has nothing to do with the year 1984. It is only simply a title. So it is about imaginary place, imaginary action. Everything is absolutely imaginary. Before analyzing this work, I would like to tell you a few things about the author, George Orwell. His pen name is George Orwell and his real name is Eric Arthur Blair. He was born in the year 1903 in India. And okay, he wasn't any Indian people, or sorry, of Indian identity. Nationality wasn't. He belonged to England, and he is an English writer. His father was giving his father was giving civil services in India, and that time he was born in India. And afterwards he also gave a few of the services in Indian subcontinent, and later he settled in England, and there he wrote this work. Now, before analyzing this work, I would like to tell you that this work may be analyzed in the 3 or 4 segments, because it is quite a long work. There are so much descriptions available about this work, and which I have noticed or I have highlighted, I'll give you. And about the plot I will talk in the end. At last I will talk about the plot, because plot is not that much important, which I find, but the other details are so much important. So first, about the title. It was initially assumed as the title, The Last Man in Europe. George Orwell was thinking to give it a title as The Last Man in Europe, but later he changed the title to 1984. Okay, there are some theories that he simply reversed the last 2 digits. He completed this work in the year 1948, and by reversing the last 2 digits or interchanging their places, it becomes 1984. So about the now content, it belongs to the genre of dystopian science fiction. So what is dystopian science fiction? Fiction, we all know, that is not about reality, absolutely imaginary. Science, that belongs to the scientific things, if there are. So there are certainly some scientific things. And dystopian. If you are not familiar to this term, I'll tell you that there is a work called as Utopia, written by Thomas More, an English writer in the 15th century. And in that work, he has talked about an ideal place in the world, a perfect place where the people are living in happiness. Absolutely perfect means no one is sad or no one is suffering. It is a perfect example of communism and socialism, as critics said. So about this place, Utopia, is said that it is a perfect world, and opposite to this one we have the term dystopia. So now in dystopia, or in dystopian world, the people will be suffering a lot. Tyrant rule would be there. So it is absolutely worst possible situation that we can ever see in this world. So that sort of a picture is created by the author George Orwell in this work. So dystopian means absolutely cruelest of the rule or tyrant rule you will see. The people are suffering in worst possible conditions. So that sort of content you are going to see in this work. Now about the theme. Okay, first there is one quote that is quite simple. Who controls the past controls the future, and who controls the present controls the past. It sounds a little rhythmic as well. By this, the author means that if you are controlling the present, means you are ruling, you are governing a state. You should control the past as well if you want to rule in the future as well. So can somebody control the past? Is it possible to control the past? According to the author, yes, it is possible, and the same thing is shown in this work. How a government, how a state is controlling the past, and then that control is helping them to control the future as well. So they are ruling in that particular part of the world for years, and they will continue to rule unless or until they are controlling the past. So the first theme that we see according to this statement as well, that is the totalitarianism. So there is a totalitarian government that is ruling in that state, and there is absolute atrocity and a tyrant rule is there. So everything is absolutely centralized to one person or one party. So there is no opposition. Whenever I am saying there is a party, it also means that it is about government. There is no other opposition, no other force. There is no other, you can say, there is no independent thing. Absolutely is everything is absolutely under the control of that party. There is no media as well. All institutions, everything is under the control of that government, and by that control they are having the mass surveillance. So the government is having absolute watch on the every action of the people. So every activity of the people are being watched by the authority. So in the public places, in the offices, in the houses, everywhere telescreens are installed. What is that? Okay, just imagine these things are written in the year 1948, and at that time the author is thinking about telescreens. So telescreen means instrument like CCTV camera with microphone. So with that telescreen, the person sitting at a remote place can easily watch your activity and even give you instructions. You can also give response to him, but that person can notice everything whatever you do. So much like CCTV camera. And to assist these sort of things or these sort of surveillance, we have thought police and thought crime. The term like thought crime. So you will be surprising, what is thought crime? Okay, I just give one quote, one famous quote from this work, that is, there is no distinction between thoughts and deeds. Both are equally punishable. Means if you are thinking to do something wrong against the state, then or you have done something wrong against the state, both are equally punished. So there is no difference between them. If you are thinking, that is also wrong, and they can catch you. This is also the quality of this thought police, that they can catch your wrong thinking. They can get hold of you. So that sort of surveillance is there. There is no personal life at all. Then the third principle or third theme we can take, that is the brainwashing. When you have that sort of a rule in your state, that sort of a surveillance is there, the tyrant rule is there, can people be happy? This is the question, and you will get the answer, yes. The people are so much happy. Their brain is washed. Absolutely brainwashing is there. So they are absolutely admiring the government. From the third person point of view, You can just imagine that sort of a picture before you, the tyrant leader, still the people are praising them. So that sort of a things we are going to see in this work. Now about the settings where the action is taking place. Before talking about these three super states, so first I tell you that as we have the globe or the geographical situations, there are countries, so everything is same, but whoever is ruling over these countries, that is different. Now there is one super state called as Oceania. You can take like as there was English rule over the Asian countries or some in African countries. So similar sort of there is a rule by Oceania government, and they are ruling most of the part of the American, North America and South America continent, and of England or Britain as well, and some part of Europe. Then we have other superstate that is called as Eurasia. Eurasia, third superstate, that you can also take from Europe and Asia, Eurasia. And the third superstate, that is smaller one as well, that is East Asia. So three superstates are there, and in each of these three superstates, the conditions of the people or the system of the rule, everything is same. Okay, leader may be changed who is ruling, but otherwise things are almost the same. The main action takes place in the city London. So London is the part of Britain, we all know, but here the same London is now ruled by the province Airstrip 1 that is coming under the Oceania. So in Airstrip 1 we have London city, and every action that we are going to see in this work is taking place here in this plot. And apart from these three superstates, we have several references to the countries like India, to the country like China and France, Germany, Canada, and African countries as well. So that sort of a thing we are going to see. But the main action that is taking place in London city. Now about the rule, how they are ruling. One and prominent feature of this rule in the state Oceania, that is there is no law, no particular law, no particular rule. They are simply ruling as everything is going verbal. There is no constitution, there is nothing written how to rule. And who is the head of this Oceania state? That party head is Big Brother. Again I say, whenever I say party, party means the government, because there is no other party. So the party head is Big Brother. And one famous slogan that goes throughout this novel, that is Big Brother is watching you. Big Brother is watching you. About Big Brother, it is said that he is a cult personality, means the people worship him. People praise him, people admire him, adore him. Though he is a tyrant, he is absolutely, you can say, means having no mercy on people, but still the people are admiring him. And about his personality, it is also said that nobody have seen him, according to the author, and there is no information available about him, that when he was born and when he will die. So people consider him as a symbol as well, that he will never die. He is immortal person. There are only his hoardings. So hoardings are everywhere, big posters placed on the big screens or big walls or on the buildings. Everywhere you will see his posters, everywhere. Big poster, huge ones containing his face prominently. And in that big face we have the black mustache, and his eyes, especially the main focus is on the eyes. So if the people are on the road and they see that big poster, the people feel that that poster is watching them. So those eyes, those two big eyes are following these common people on the road or in the public places or even in the offices. So that sort of a terror feeling is there, but still the people are loving him. So they are chanting the slogans like "We love Big Brother." Apart from this, there is one more point that whatever the state is doing, if there is any victory on opposition, not opposition, on the enemy country, like these are three super states I have told you, that Eurasia, East Asia and Oceania. If Oceania is having any, okay, they are at war with Eurasia, so they are means in the war, if they are getting any sort of a victory, that is attributed to this personality Big Brother. If there is any medical or scientific achievement, any sort of discovery, any sort of happiness coming in the state, everything is attributed to the inspiration of Big Brother. So that sort of a cult personality we see him. So he is absolutely adored or admired by the people. So that sort of a rule is there. Now about the principles of this rule or government. So first there is one term, that is ingsoc. Ingsoc, English, okay, that starts with E, but here it comes with I. Ingsoc. Ingsoc means English socialism. So somewhere author has satire on the term socialism. Okay, that we may not be agree with his views, but he is satiring on socialism, that he is saying that this is English version of the socialism term. Okay, socialism, that is also he is satiring on the Russian Revolution that happened in the 1915 or 16, that time. And in this work we see that the party members address one another or each other with the term like comrade. So they are calling the people with this term comrade. And in this rule, or in this you can say the system, there are three famous slogans with the double speak term. So first I just introduce you in a brief what is double speak, because we have a lot to discuss about double speak. That is very prominent discussion point in this work. When you are getting agreed to the two contrary ideas, you can imagine that x is equal to y and x is equal to z. Both you are getting agreed, means you are agreeing to the two contrary ideas. Okay, one simple term I give you, that 2 plus 2 is equal to 4, we all know. But if you are accepting that 2 plus 2 is equal to 5, 2 plus 2 is equal to 4, and you are getting agree, you are giving your consent that both are correct. 2 plus 2 is equal to 4 and 2 plus 2 is equal to 5. You are giving your consent that both are correct. That is double speak. So there are three famous slogans which are written everywhere on the walls or on the posters. These are like war is peace. Now you can put these two things together. War is peace. Second, ignorance is strength. Third, freedom is slavery. Freedom is slavery. So these three slogans are everywhere and people are chanting these slogans. So they are not just reciting, they are willfully accepting these slogans. How can it be possible? Now you think. It is possible when their brain is absolutely washed. Now how these government are ruling? Okay, we'll not make this video that long. Okay, already 18 minutes. So I'll just finish this video with this point. That is about ministries. There are several ministries to rule. So first we have Ministry of Truth. So now you can assume from the double speak term that Ministry of Truth is dealing with the main work of this ministry is to create false records, fake facts and information. So this is the work of the Ministry of Truth. Then we have, it is called as Mini-True. In their language, in this work, it is termed as Mini-True. There is a language called as Newspeak. In this work, Newspeak is the language of the people, and in that language, Ministry of Truth is called as Mini-True. So similarly, next ministry we have Ministry of Love, and it is called as Mini-Love. So this ministry has one work, that is to maintain law and order with being tyrant. So they are maintaining the law and order, and name is Mini Love. Next is the Ministry of Peace. So very obvious that Ministry of Peace has issues to deal with the war, with the enemies they are dealing, and it is named as Mini Peace, or sorry, Mini Pax. Mini Pax. And the last one is the Ministry of Plenty, and this ministry is given the short name as Mini Plenty, and it has a lot to do or a lot to deal with the economic issues about the productions and to meet the demands of the people, how to supply something which is needed by the people. So these sort of things are dealt by the Ministry of Plenty. So in this work we have one central figure, one famous character, that is Winston Smith. Okay, I'm not discussing the plot here in this video, okay, maybe in the last one. And that Winston Smith is working in the record department in the Ministry of Truth. So the main work of Winston Smith, the central protagonist of this work, is to create false records and false facts. So that sort of a falsehood is created by this government or this authority. So that's about this first video. Okay, we are going to wind up the things. We have just discussed the theme of this work and about the major features of this rule, how they are ruling, and also about several ministries. But in the next video we shall be discussing more. There is a lot more about the descriptions and details that we get in this work. So stay tuned. We'll meet in the next video. Thanks.